Hello and welcome to Fight Talk. Today I'm going to be talking about the Tommy Fury versus Jake Paul fight coming up. I'm going to give you my prediction, some insight into how I think the fight's going to go, and just have a general chat about what I think is going to happen. So firstly we have Tommy Fury, who has a record of 8-0. His opponent's combined record is 30 wins. And 176 losses. He's been fighting absolute bums. Then we have Jake Paul, who is 6-0, whose opponents have a combined record of around 3 wins, 2 losses, and who hasn't actually fought a boxer yet. We could say that Anderson Silva is a boxer. He fought Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., who is obviously a professional boxer. But let's just say Jake Paul hasn't fought an actual out-and-out boxer, and Tommy Fury's been fighting absolute meatheads. Let's firstly look at Jake Paul. Now, he has a lack of a jab is the first thing I'm going to say. His jab isn't powerful, it's not snappy, it's irrelevant when he fights. It's not something that the opponent has to concern themselves with. We look at the Anderson Silva Jake Paul fight and the lack of the jab was very notable. He throws that jab out, it's not got any power, no snap, and you know, a fighter's jab in boxing is the first fundamental punch that one learns, and it has to be snappy, quick. Tommy Fury's, on the other hand, is brilliant. He's got a brilliant jab. Now, when we look at Jake Paul's strengths, he's all about that right hand. He's a power puncher. That right hand is deadly. He's put out Tyron Woodley, you know, he's hit Anderson Silva with that right hand and put him down. So by no means does he have no power. He actually has great power. I believe his ring IQ is half decent because he has put himself in those situations which are uncomfortable. You know, he's fought fighters that actually want to take his head off. Against Tyron Woodley, for example, he was caught in a controversial moment. I mean, I'm sure you've seen the pictures of him and the videos of him against the ropes, but he's been through those moments where he's losing in a fight and has to land a punch. He's been through controversy. You know, people comment all the time, he's a YouTuber, he's an influencer, but he has put himself in those uncomfortable situations and come out on top. You've got to pay him his respects, you know. He's put himself out there and he's doing well, and I think that's helped him with his ring IQ. It's accelerated it a bit quicker than most. Again, his clinch work in the Anderson Silva fight and the Tyron Woodley fight, they were good. He had good moments in the clinch. You know, if he wants to make this as competitive as possible for himself, I think he needs to really make this a brawl, make it a fight, not a boxing match, if you know what I'm trying to say. The way he wins this fight is by making it a brawl, making it a fight more than a boxing match, you know, getting into the pocket, getting close, slipping the jab, and then throwing his power punches and clinching up, because his clinch is good, so he needs to use that to effect. And the other thing we have to give to Jake Paul, which I mentioned before, this is why his ring IQ is good, because he's been in those uncomfortable situations, is that he is battle ready. You know, he's had main fight experience, he's, you know, under the lights, he's comfortable. Whereas Tommy Fury hasn't really experienced that. I know he has pressure because of the name, he carries the name Fury, but he's never had that main card, all the lights are on him pressure, and I think that's one thing Jake Paul should use, and will use anyway, automatically as an advantage. I think when we look at this fight, the uglier the fight looks, the better it is for Jake Paul. You know, if it looks like a clean boxing match and, you know, Tommy Fury's throwing the jab, throwing his straight punches, using his reach and keeping the distance, if you see that, you'll know that this fight is sort of going the way that Tommy Fury wants it to go. Whereas if we see an ugly dogfight, you know, clinching, getting close, punches, uppercuts, hooks, in that tight area, you know, in that tight pocket, that's when we'll know that Jake Paul's plan is coming into action. I think Jake Paul wants to make this fight a who wants it more type of situation. He believes, I mean, you see him when he talks, he's very, very convincing, but you see he's a guy that believes he wants it more than his opponent. And I think he thinks that Tommy doesn't want it as much as him. And if he makes it a scrap, if he makes it a who wants it more sort of challenge, I think that will be what he wants to do. And I do favour Jake Paul in that sense, in a who wants it more challenge. Now, the only issue with this is technical boxers can usually, these sort of scrappy fights, deal with these scrappy fighters, you know, throw the jab every time they try and come in the pocket, you know, interrupt their flow. And I think Tommy Fury does possess that ability, but he's fought absolute bums. He's been able to do this, but he's fought absolute bums. So I don't know if I'm convinced he can do it. Jake Paul needs to be aggressive on the front foot. You know, he needs to slip the jab, get in the pocket, throw a few hooks, throw a few uppercuts, and then clinch up, which he's good at. That would be him using his strengths and using the abilities he has to maximal effect. Another thing he's going to have to do, which I just remembered because I was going to move to Tommy, is he's going to have to throw more punches than Tommy Fury, outwork his opponent. Now, I'll try and get the stats from his previous punches on the screen. He hardly throws. And if he's wanting to beat a supposedly more technical fighter than himself, he's going to have to outwork the opposition. And that's one thing I do worry about, is that he doesn't really throw that many punches. Now, Tommy Fury, when you see him fight, throws constant feints, very like his big brother Tyson Fury and all the Furies. I don't know if there's any more that fight, to be honest, but he's got an unbelievable jab. His jab is quick, powerful, and it snaps. It's what Jake should aspire to have, and I hope he's worked on his jab, because it's truly awful when you watch it. But his straight punches are great, and his footwork is brilliant. Now, his footwork is great, his jab is great, his straight punches in general, to be fair, are great punches. You know, he has the boxing fundamentals down to a T when it comes to punching straight. The only issue I have is he leaves his chin out there when he's against the ropes. When he is being pushed backwards, which further emphasizes the fact that Jake Paul should be aggressive, he leaves his chin open. You know, he doesn't look comfortable on the ropes. When he's moving backwards, it's a bit like the Fury-Wilder situation, actually, when we look at it. Fury realised, actually, if I pressurise Wilder, you know, Wilder's awful going backwards. And it's kind of the same situation with Tommy Fury here. Going forwards, great. Good straight punches, you know, good footwork. You can see he's been boxing for a while, but when he's going backwards, it goes to shit. So if Tommy really does want to win this fight, he's going to have to jab, throw those straight punches, interrupt Jake Paul as he comes into the pocket to try and make it a brawl, and then spin out, get to the centre of the ring again, and do it all over again. Now, this will require patience, this will require discipline, because he will want to take the head off of Jake Paul, and I don't think that's a smart way to go about it. What makes this fight interesting? Now, for me, the fact that they both do well what the other does bad creates a beautiful matchup. Tommy Fury has those boxing fundamentals, the footwork that Jake Paul doesn't have, the jab that Jake Paul doesn't have, and those straights that Jake Paul doesn't have. But Jake Paul has that ferocity, that mentality that Tommy doesn't have, that inside game that I don't think Tommy has either, and is aggressive and believes in himself, and he's a very motivated character, which people do question about Tommy Fury. I can actually understand why Jake Paul has picked Tommy Fury. You know, a guy that when he moves backward leaves his hands down, which could suit Jake Paul coming in with that massive hook or overhand that he does have. So I do understand that. But I do believe in this fight, we're going to see a Tommy Fury throwing the jab, throwing the straights, staying away from those big hands and trying to win on points. And I do think that's what's going to happen. I think the fundamentals that Tommy Fury has will be just about enough to beat Jake Paul. You know, I think a loss to Tommy Fury wouldn't do Jake Paul any harm, and I don't think there's much pressure on him, to be fair. You know, a guy that's been boxing for 3 or 4 years now, goes into the ring, loses on points to a guy with a Fury name who's been boxing since he was a young kid. I don't see it being detrimental unless he gets flatlined, which I can't see happening, because Tommy Fury hasn't really displayed his power that well, even against bums, which is crazy. But I do see Tommy playing this one safe, jabbing, throwing his straights, getting out of the way, circling away, playing to his strengths. And I don't think Jake Paul gets near him. That's my opinion. That's my opinion on the fight. I'd like to hear your guys' opinions as well down below. Let me know who you think will win. Will it be Jake Paul? Will it be Tommy Fury? I'll put a poll in one of these corners. I have no fucking clue which corner it's going to be. But there'll be a poll in one of the corners so you guys can submit who you think will win. And as I say on all my videos, like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.